I am really proud to be the sponsor of this item. The stadium has been a part of my district from the very beginning. The fact that it's not going to be a burden on taxpayers. This item provides an opportunity for us to provide wonderful upgrades to the Dolphin Stadium, to Sun Life Stadium, of which the funds for these upgrades, more than half will be paid for by the team.
Let me first start off by saying I want to qualify something that the only way the Super Bowl is super 2 years from now or 3 years from now, the 50th anniversary, is that if the Dolphins are playing in it, because if they're not playing in it, as far as I'm concerned, it's just another Super Bowl. But let me first and foremost say that I appreciate the Dolphin organization coming at this from a completely different angle. They've appreciated the arguments and the conversations is out there. My colleagues, the stench of the Marlins deal is in the pores of everything that this conversation is about. Let's make no mistake about it. It's the 800-pound gorilla in the room, and it's the feedback that we get from a lot of people when we talk to. The first reaction is mention the Marlins. The Dolphins are aware of this, and we're all aware of this. So I don't want to, kind of like skate around the issue and not offend anybody. It was a bad deal. We've all agreed to it because we were dealing with a disingenuous partner. I don't believe that's the case here. But I do have to approach this under the lens of about 3 or 4 different ways of looking at this. Number one, a policy standpoint. Is this a good idea for us to be taking public money, no matter where it comes from, it becomes public money, and should we be taking that public money and rewarding a private entity? And let's make no mistake, while all of us have an interest claim, an emotional stake in the Miami Dolphins, and I know I've had it all my life, this is a private business. And the Dolphins in the past have gone down this same path before when Joe Robbie wanted renovations to a stadium, ended up building his own stadium. So that's a question that we have to debate here on the public policy standpoint of that. I do believe that Broward County, whether they're involved or not, gets benefits from this, because events that happen at the stadium, we're not going to tell people where they go and stay to go to the event. That's just a matter of fact. And while the Dolphins have assured, and I believe them, that they will insist that every event tied to the Super Bowl happens in Dade County, I think they themselves will tell you that the NFL takes over the entire thing. It's an NFL production. Okay? The blue-collar guy out there and woman that work hard for a living, they don't go to Super Bowls. This is a corporate event, big-time corporate event. Okay? It's their model, and it's very successful. So we need to just analyze it from a public policy standpoint, whether this is wise or not. And I remind, as the mayor mentioned this morning, or somebody mentioned in one of the many debates that we've been having, it's been a long day of debates, it seems, but we have a water and sewer thing coming down the pike. That's going to cost a lot of money. So then imagine the sellout there. This, and then we come back with that, and guess what? The ones that they're going to deal with the second issue, that is not somebody else's money. So I just want to put that on the table from a public policy standpoint. Timing. On January 14th, the Miami Dolphins held a press conference, laid out a plan moving forward. 9 days later, after a long weekend, we have this issue in front of us, and I would challenge anyone here to tell me that the residents out there know what we're dealing with at this point. Because they don't. They don't. There's a website. I myself have tried to educate based on the conversations I've had with the Dolphins, and they've been very, again, I want to say they've been very forthright with these issues, but I'll tell you what, there is no plan out there. You know, I took the time to pick up the phone and call my former colleagues in the Florida legislature. Guys, the Day delegation is not on board with this. The Day delegation doesn't care what we do with this item. They're not on board. So consider that yes, this is ceremonial. This is just to get the conversation rolling. But in the eyes of many other people, this is not just to get the conversation rolling. And there is no appetite right now to deal with this issue in the Florida legislature. You know, I probably feel a lot more comfortable if we had this issue in front of us now, have the mayor, who is the duly elected officer for our body, sitting down with the Dolphins and work out all these details. Work out all the details on how this thing plays itself out. So then we can make an informed decision on whether this is good or not, or maybe add our points to it. I know they're going to award the Super Bowl, as Mr. D mentioned, at the end of May. Florida legislature meets in March. Still a lot of time for a lot of negotiations to happen, a lot of time for us to inform. I, for one, have reached out to the mayors in my city and have asked them to help me set up public meetings so we can inform people in our community. Session starts in March. This, if, and I blow up the word if, the legislature contemplated this, this is a last day bill. Those of you that have been in Tallahassee know exactly what I'm talking about. This is the last bill out the chute, product of all the wheeling and dealing that goes out in Tallahassee. Commissioner Heyman, Commissioner Zapata, Commissioner Barreiro, you've all walked that dance up there. You know exactly what I'm talking about. My math puts that at the first week of May. And then the governor would have to sign something, and we'd have to start working out all the details at that point, and the Super Bowl's being awarded at the end of May. The time factor doesn't work. Doesn't work. And as you guys know, anything you do in business that is rushed, somebody's getting the short end of the deal. So I'd feel much more comfortable, because I trust the mayor that we have to sit down and start working out something that we could see beforehand, that we could literally tell our friends in the legislature, this is the deal. Something to consider. A third item is, yes, we want events here. This town operates under big events. We all know it. We got to have a team, and unless that team is winning, nobody goes. Unless that team is in a big event, nobody cares. It's just the way it is, okay? It's something in our DNA here in South Florida. We have way, way too many distractions. But when we talk about Super Bowl, now this is the fan in me talking to you. And I think the commissioner of the league agrees the game should be played in the elements. I don't know, we've become very soft as a country where everything has to be pristine for us to go to a game. But I'll tell you what, in Denver recently, they were below zero. The place was packed, and the commissioner of the league was talking about the game should be played in the elements and encouraging Denver to put in a bid for a Super Bowl. Not sure if it's next year or the year after, but I believe it's next year. The game is going to be played in New York. No canopy, no dome. I don't know what the temperature is in New York today, but I would imagine it's not sweater weather, that's for sure. And that event is going to be held in New York. 16 degrees. 16 degrees. Celsius or Fahrenheit? I think that's cold, whatever it says. Okay. I think we need to consider all these things. And I say this knowing full well that we have a partner that is being genuine in their approach with this. This is not going to be and cannot be a Marlins deal. We, as a commission, cannot allow it. We just can't allow it. So I feel much more comfortable because I have a mayor that I trust at the forefront bringing something to us that we could then get behind, but I don't think we're there right now. And the last thing I want to just make clear, the statement that any deal that's cooked up or worked out somehow or another guarantees that the team is here, I certainly hope that we're not going to go down the route of, if this doesn't happen, the team goes someplace else. You know, the Marlins use that card. And, you know, come on, folks, really? We're going to use that? And I hope that's not part of what we're talking about here, that if it doesn't happen, now we look elsewhere. And it happens. Don't believe it can't happen, because if you follow sports, franchises move. When they don't get what they want, they move. And it's happened many times before, and historic franchises in the league, the Cleveland Browns moved. They picked up and left. The Baltimore Colts, history in Baltimore, picked up and left. Los Angeles Rams, LA doesn't even have a team. They pick up and leave. So don't think for a second that it can't happen. And I only mention it because I hope that's not part of the conversation we're going to have, is, you know, that's in the backdrop. Because the chart that was put up talked about a minimum investment. I think it's about 199 million, maybe 200 million, I'm not really sure, as a point of conversation. Mr. Attorney, could you tell me what is the total dollar amount that we will end up paying for the 360 and change that we gave to the Marlins?
We don't have that information at this moment, but that's certainly something the administration may be able to address.
I think the mayor's looking at, he's ready to jump there at the bit there. And
it's over $2 billion.
over $2 billion.
It may even be $3 billion. I know $180 million issuance is going to cost us $1.2 billion. That's one of the reasons why I was against the deal.
See that, and that's exactly why I feel much more comfortable if you were maybe in the driver's seat here, because you remember these numbers. Okay, understood. Because the question that I have, Madam Chair, and I apologize, I don't want to digress, but the question that I have is that at 200 million, what could that possibly be long term? If it's 365 million, is about 2 billion. So this is what, maybe 1.5 billion?
If I could answer that question.
Please.
In no way, shape, or form would this mayor ever bring to you a deal with financing as atrocious as we had for the Marlins Stadium. You would end up with a much smaller debt at the end, because we're just going to have straight financing. What you ended up with the Marlins deal was called capital appreciation bonds, which aren't even callable. And so when I got into office, can we start reducing and eliminating that debt? We can't even call the debt. We can eliminate it.
Insane.
Believe me, I will never bring anything to this body anywhere close to the financing that we have for the Marlins Stadium.
Well, Madam Chair, I think...
No, it's not allowed in the public.
It's a waiting
thing. If you
thing.
want to express your emotions, this is the way, out of respect to the rules that have been established for many years. Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you, Mr.